Good evening, everyone, and welcome to another edition of the Best Damn Sports Show in Franklin County for Wednesday, May 15th, 2019. I am the Nighthawk, along with our studio director, Mr. Zach, and on the panel to my immediate right, Nick, the Red Man Mumley, and to his right, my old pal, Duke Forrest.
Welcome back, Hawk. Good to see you, my man.
So, Duke, it wouldn't be very unmanly of me to say I missed you. I mean, we have literally not done a show together since in March because you had taken off your 3-week southern trip.
Oh, didn't we catch?
You and I have not done a show since March.
No, you're right. That's right.
Then I took my vacation. I hadn't seen you. So it's been a long time.
Oh, it has been a long time. Yeah, welcome back. Always good to see you in charge.
Nick, I have not done a show with Nick in months. Yeah. So I called him Monday. I said, Nick, get back in the show because I heard he had done one a couple weeks ago. So he said, yeah, no problem, Hawk. I'm more than happy to come on the show. So haven't seen Nick in months. So today I go to Missisquoi High School to see the Missisquoi T-Birds versus Mount Abraham Eagles.
Coached by your son-in-law, Roy.
Yeah, and second inning, it was 60 degrees, sun was out, but the clouds came and it cooled off, so I went to my vehicle to get a hoodie. Yeah. And I look, it says, Red? He goes, Nighthawk, I thought that was you. So he came over.
Yeah, that's pretty funny.
And, stood with me. I sat, of course, he stood. So we just chatted for about an hour and a half. And we didn't talk any local sports. It's all life stuff, and we may be losing Nick in the not too distant future.
We may lose him to my old state here at some
North
point,
Carolina in the Raleigh area, and I pretty much to the chagrin of Governor Scott, I said, Red, if you know what you're doing, if you're smart, you leave Vermont. I don't care if you're 18 or 40 or 80. I said, there's very little opportunity for a youngster in the state. I said, you go down to Carolina. And I mean, I'm not disparaging Vermont, but as everybody knows, this is one hell of a place to live in. Price of living in Vermont, and it's a beautiful state. And I just got off vacation over in Europe, and I'm telling you straight up, and I've done a lot of traveling. You've done a lot of traveling. Yeah. Vermont is about as pretty a place as there is on the face of the earth. I mean,
this 6 months from May.
But you pay for it. You pay for it.
Yeah.
And, Carolina, I was talking to a guy during vacation, and he's been living in North Carolina for the last 25 years, originally from Wisconsin. He says, the state has really changed in 25 years because Florida's not the place to go anymore. Right. It's gone north to South Carolina, North Carolina.
Carolina's Tennessee got a lot of attention.
Right. There are a lot of folks deciding not to spend time in Florida. And
it's too hot down there.
it is too hot down there. So, but if what are you, 21 now?
20, yeah.
20. If I was 20, I'd hitch my wagon right to you.
Yeah.
I've mentioned that to a number of people. When I talk about Vermont's future, and I've been here, I'm no native son, but I've been here for a few decades. I know the state pretty well, but in fact, Jennifer's cousin and a friend of hers are up from the state of Georgia right now, and I picked them up at the airport. God, this poor folk had a tough flight Monday night from Atlanta. Got in late. I had a real fun ride from BTV to 1906 House at about 1 to 2 a.m., raining, obviously wicked dark, horrible. But I was telling cousin Betsy's friend that, Vermont, boy, the future of Vermont, I'm anything but optimistic. A flat population, as you said, young people tending to take off and stuff, a tough tax state. I mean, I love the place, but it's got some negatives.
I don't want to speak for you, Nick, but I haven't been here for a number of weeks, so I've got a lot of pent-up energy. But Nick was saying to me during the game, houses down there, which would be going for $350,000 here in Franklin County, you'd get them down around $200,000 down in North Carolina.
Yeah, generally, certainly, depending on where you are, obviously. But it's certainly better deals.
Yeah.
So just a lot more down there for sure. And
describe winters to me down in North Carolina. If it's January,
we'll get back to that. We got a call. We'll get back to that.
All right. Good evening. You are the first caller tonight on the Best Damn Sports Show in Franklin County. Hello.
Hello. How we doing?
We're doing well.
How you doing?
Thank you.
When did you get back, Nighthawk?
2 a.m. Monday morning. I was in Copenhagen on Sunday.
Wow.
And it's from the time I get out of bed in Copenhagen, by the time I got back to my house, it was almost exactly 24 hours.
We're talking about a 6-hour time difference?
Yeah. You gain it back, but nevertheless, it's still real time. So
Yeah, I stopped by there last night for a bit. It didn't seem like too much life was going on,
Yeah.
so I figured maybe you were still on vacation.
Hey, caller, just a personal note. I just got a check from the Duke on lot rent, so we're getting excited to do some
Oh,
more.
I did not get the memo.
Oh,
And
okay.
thank you very much.
Yeah.
You guys are so good to let me have a presence down there. I really appreciate
Yeah.
it. If you ever get tired of me, throw me out in a
not a
second,
problem.
and I
Glad
totally
to have you.
understand.
Yeah, so I'll give you a buzz. We've got to get Duke's kayaks down to the
Yeah,
lake.
but zero hurry.
Right. No.
Okay? I hope that's the last thing on your list.
No.
If I can help you do it, tell me.
Yeah.
But thank you very much, Bobby. Anyway, boy,
You're so welcome, Duke.
Red Sox, what a tough one. I don't know. Yeah, Hawk.
Getting back to
Anyway.
the earlier conversation about the state of Vermont, geez, I couldn't agree with you more. What a beautiful state,
It is.
but I mean, the politics and the taxes and everything that goes with it just boils my blood. I read a piece the other night where Vermont got this woman, from the Missouri, Mississippi, or whatever, paid her expenses for coming up here and gave her $5,000 to move here. And my goodness, I kept the thoughts to myself, but the remarks that came out from people, and everyone was legit. I mean, my problem is you have older people about starving to death here, people in the 80s and stuff not even making it hardly. You got, disabled vets here that are having a hard time making it. You have, young families, people Nick's age with a child or two that are working and just barely making ends meet. And, my big question, we're operating out of the block all the time in Vermont. We're next door in New Hampshire. We should be schooling ourselves and seeing how they run such a great functional state, but we don't. But my big question, all these $5,000 bonuses for moving into the state of Vermont, where is this money coming from?
In fact, I think, Bobby, if we're talking the same program, it might even be 10, maybe they're different programs, but one of the programs is even 10 grand.
Yeah.
I mean, it does speak to how desperate the state is to try to get younger people with good jobs who will hopefully pay taxes. But I hear what you're saying. I mean, it's obviously state budget money, but I think there's even a 10 grand. I don't know how successful the program's in, but it speaks to how...
Even state budget is taxpayers' money.
Oh, sure. No, we're talking... Oh, yeah, you're clearly talking... There's no magic money out there. You're talking our money. But it speaks to how desperate the state is. Governor Scott said he was hoping to get another 100,000 people in the state. Yeah, good luck.
Yeah.
We're lucky to be we're losing population. We're flat.
And if you notice, last month when the unemployment statistics came out, we were at 2.4%.
Lowest it's
Lowest
ever been,
in the
I think.
history of recorded unemployment. I mean, everybody that wants a job has a job.
Yeah.
And, you go around the state and you see help wanted signs everywhere.
Sure.
And
Sure.
we're at around 625,000 people, and it's been flat for a great number of years.
Yeah.
And I said it often on the show, our median age, Vermont is the second oldest, only
Just
second
to
to
Maine, I
Maine.
think, right?
And I think we're only a smidgen away from being the oldest state.
Yeah.
So, and quickly, and I told this story a lot, and I think I probably told you today, there's a guy, and he works in the financial field, so he does pretty well, sits behind me at UVM hockey games. He took a transfer to Denver. He had a very nice home in Essex Junction, where you already know it's got to be a pretty expensive house. He said he moved to the Denver area, and had an extremely comparable house to the one in Essex Junction. He said literally his property taxes were half what he paid in Essex.
Yeah, the Northeast property taxes are real tough. And of course, any story you read about education, you're always reading how student population's going down, but educational expenses certainly don't seem to follow suit.
Because I vaguely know this caller, but I know when we graduated from high school, the student population at BFA was about 1,300.
We're talking like 800 or 900?
850 approximately right now.
Yeah.
So, and those
probably 7-8 years ago, we wanted to put an expansion on our company. And we had, I forgot what group it was, from Montpelier or something, and we had this group come in and we showed them the blueprints of the expansion we wanted. We kind of told them the number of new employees that would be required with this expansion, laid over what our pay scale is, which is very good, our Cadillac insurance program, and the whole ball of wax. And with our president of our company, he wanted, some kind of tax break, and said, listen, we're employing Vermonters. This is what we want to do. And they could do nothing for us. So in turn, we opened 2 new plants in El Paso, Texas. Wow. And, where I am, it's a very good job. It's very good pay, very good atmosphere, Cadillac insurance. And I mean, this is exactly what the state of Vermont needs. You don't need all these jobs that are paying minimum wage, And that day 8 years ago, I really educated myself. I said, this is great during my working life, but, after that, forget it. My wife and I, we've been checking South Carolina, around northern Charleston, Hilton Head, outside of Savannah, Georgia. And like you said, you can go down there. You can take your house and sell it. You can go down there with $250,000 and have the home of your life. Brand new home, beautiful, beautiful layouts down there. Activities galore. And, they just do it right. And it's sad to say, like we say, Vermont is such a beautiful state, but I was talking to one person. I work with a large group of people, and it looks like everybody's heading down south. And I can't remember if it was South Carolina or Georgia when you had, no state tax, a break on your 401k, and it kind of added up to like it's 29% better living there. Or if you made $100 a week down there, you would make $129 a week. That's like a 30% increase. And, when you retire, unless you're a millionaire, you've got to watch your money a little bit tighter than you do now. So, I mean, the incentives to go down there are just phenomenal.
Yep. And like you said, I mean, people are headed south, and just to about every man I talk to who are close to retirement age, just like you, caller, they all have visions of heading down to North South Carolina, Georgia, Tennessee, some Florida.
I wake up to WVMT every day, and their morning show is very good. Kurt Wright, the Burlington City Councilor, former state rep, and Curtis's sidekick. It's a good show, but it's a pretty conservative listenership. Yep. But boy, caller, just about every day, whenever they have a guest like David Zuckerman, maybe even the governor, you'll get a caller or two saying, I'm out of here. You guys are insane. You're driving me out. I mean, you can count on a call like that or two every time they have a guest.
Now, caller, if you need any information on Charleston or Savannah,
boy, Bob,
this guy goes down every year.
Yeah, you're mentioning my favorite places. I just spent
that's what I was mentioning to my wife. I said, geez, I've got a good scout or guide. If I need any info, I said, Duke is certainly the guy.
In fact, I've got
kind of your playground down there.
In fact, I got a ton of info, as you can maybe tell by the papers next to me. I've got a ton of info on places like Charleston and Savannah that I'm happy to give you guys. Not that I want to lose you, but anyway, it's a nice part of the country. Savannah, Charleston, and Wilmington, North Carolina, 3 really nice cities in the southeastern coastal cities.
Yep.
I'm a coastal guy, but yeah, I've told a bunch of
And
people.
you can move just 20 miles outside of the city, just off the ocean.
Yeah,
and
right.
that's where,
Prices
you
too.
really get such great,
Yeah.
houses for great prices.
Sure.
And, a day at the ocean, it isn't too hard loading your vehicle and driving
Sure.
for 20 minutes,
Yeah. Oh, exactly. Yeah. You're not gonna be buying a cheap house in the peninsula of Charleston's one of the hotter places in the country. But you get out to North Charleston, Somerville, some of the towns like half hour away, not far from the beach, and yeah, you get a pretty good deal that you're talking about. Anyway, I hear you.
So, Nighthawk, I haven't seen you on the show. Have I seen you since you had your football draft?
The NFL draft.
Of course, you left right
no,
before.
I left the day of the NFL draft. I watched the draft at the hotel in Fort Lauderdale, and
Did my man Daniel? Did he ruin your day?
well, my memory,
talked about
my
this a lot,
memory
of
base,
course.
Oakland. I think for the 3rd pick, they took Salon,
3rd or 4th pick.
Farrell,
Clemson guy.
and all of a sudden, the 6th pick, the guy who I really wanted, Josh Allen,
Right.
edge rusher out of Kentucky,
Was there.
and I said, I don't believe this. We're getting Josh Allen.
You absolutely assume that's who they'd pick at 6?
Oh, I thought they'd all be peeing their pants. They were so excited. And then they took Daniel Jones. And once I what? Because I was under the assumption he would still be there with their 17th pick.
Sure.
But the more I read on this,
Yeah. They said,
Duke did not have a good football team.
No, it was a rat. I think they won a couple games, lost 6
They had
straight.
the 3rd most dropped passes in the country last year. So Jones is
And the offensive line, I don't think
not
was
good.
any great shakes.
But Daniel Jones is a very cerebral guy.
Okay, smart kid.
And it
Good
takes
athlete.
more brains to play that position than it does arm. And I said it a million times, the GOAT, Tom Brady, does not have a big arm.
Yeah.
But the guy's an Albert Einstein behind center.
Seems to have a fairly smart guy.
The only difference, just say we've got Daniel Jones at the 17th position when we took Josh Allen at 6. Well, the reversal of fortune here is with the 17th pick, we took Dexter Lawrence
Another Clemson
yeah.
guy.
from Clemson, who's rated the #1 run stopper defensive tackle.
Yeah.
I would rather have Josh Allen than Lawrence.
But it seems like they got a reasonable, a reasonable second place.
Gettleman's line, of course, was, hey, Daniel Jones was my guy, and I didn't want to lose
Right.
him. And again, Gettleman's line that, there are a couple of other teams that might have taken him. That seems to be.
And I
a
think
lot of
I
people
read
don't
it.
buy that, but I guess you never.
And I did make a copy of it, but I think of all the first-round picks in the last 20 years, only 28% of them have any measure of success.
Is that right?
And
Just
just
about
to
a
show
quarter?
you, caller, how bad the quarterback class was this year, and this is a telling stat and probably be the most interesting thing I'll say all night. This is the first time in the 2019 draft since 1993 that no team traded up to the first round to get a quarterback. Now, everybody had Drew Lock out of Missouri, 10th pick overall going to Denver. That was a slam dunk. You knew that was going to happen. Denver got him
In the
at
second
the
round.
42nd position. Now, Dwayne Haskins, who went to Washington with a 15th overall pick.
Well, he was real happy he was picked after Daniel Jones, wasn't he?
He grew up in Jersey and moved down to Maryland during his youth. So he was somewhat happy, even though the money is a lot less at the 17th position than the 6th. But from what I've read is the Washington brass wanted Daniel Jones. Daniel Snyder, the owner,
Snyder wanted
Haskins. Why? Because Haskins played high school football
Local kid.
with his kid.
Oh, is that with his
So
kid?
he knew Haskins.
No, I didn't hear that.
And when you're the owner, you supersede any.
But yeah, I read the same thing that the coaching brass wasn't particularly high on.
No.
aspects.
So it was not a bad pick. Daniel Jones, I believe, is 6 feet 5 inches.
Yeah.
And if we do the Patrick Mahomes method, where you sit the bench, and I'm a firm believer, and I don't care if you're Jesus Christ coming out of heaven.
Yeah.
You sit the bench the first year, and you can learn a lot by watching. And
What's Eli's contract situation?
he's got 1 year left in his
1 year left.
contract. Now, you look at your Rams collar.
Yeah, with me, I just have a problem. And the guy is good. There's no doubt about it. He's a stand-up guy. I have no problem.
Yeah,
He's
he's
going to be a
he's
good
kid.
quarterback. But I just have a problem picking that early and having a guy sit for a year. When you pick number 6, I feel it should be an impact player. You know,
Just
like
about
you
everybody
said a few
sits,
times,
don't everybody
the
Well,
sits?
Giants
Don't
Yeah,
they?
at
Let-
the
let-
quarterback
let
position.
me
gave
tell you
up the
why.
most
That's not
points.
unusual.
Right.
And I think you should have been with the number 6 pick going defense. Again, nothing
could be.
against the quarterback.
Yeah.
You should have, really patched up your defense this year and maybe drafted a quarterback last year. To draft that high
Well-
and have a guy sit, I'm having a big problem with
Okay,
that.
but let me flip the pages back 2 years. St. Louis or L.A. Rams had the, second pick overall? After Philadelphia took Carson Wentz, the Rams took
Jared Goff.
Jared Goff rode the bench for the first 9 games.
Right,
which-
and he
then-
didn't spend
well-
a year on the bench.
Right, but I did want to put a footnote. If the Giants are mathematically out, which they very easily could be 10 games in the season, there's no doubt in my mind
Jones will start getting some playing time.
that
at that
Daniel
point.
Jones will be, from that point on for the next 15 years, their starting quarterback. Now, if you remember when Eli played, we picked up Kurt Warner from, I believe he was still with St. Louis, and he actually played pretty good. But they were right around 500. We're not going to make the playoffs. So about after 10 games, they put Warner on the bench. And, of course, if you remember, Warner went to Arizona and led that team to the Super Bowl.
Right.
And Warner still had a few good years, and he's now in Canton, Ohio as a Hall of Fame player. But Manning took over, took his lumps his first year. So now I'm not going to sit here and say Jones is good because, again, I said 28% are first-round picks turn out to be of some measure of success. So I'm a little better about it today than I was 4 weeks ago.
As I mentioned
Yeah.
on earlier shows, I just felt like I took such a beating. I'm down. Speaking of my southeastern trip, the day after the first night of the draft, I drove from Myrtle Beach to Ocean City, Maryland. Always my last night before I come up. And I've got Sirius XM radio, so I'm hearing tons of draft stuff. Eventually, New York radio. I just felt like I was pummeled for 10 hours on that drive. The Daniel Jones critics. I mean, I felt like I was marshmallow when I limped into Ocean City. I just felt like I took a beating that day, Daniel Jones. And I can understand, the point about taking a defensive player. I
and
just
again,
hope for Gettleman.
I'm sure he's going to be a very good quarterback.
No, I hope
and
so.
I'm certainly not questioning his ability.
No, I understand
he's a
your
great
point.
Guy,
I hear your
came
point.
from a great school, and I'm sure he's a fantastic
Good character guy, for
but,
sure,
every team has different needs, and I just felt the Giants, they gave up so many points, and they scored more points than anybody in that division.
Yeah.
I just felt that this time, perhaps Eli isn't as bad as everybody's making him out to be.
No.
When the Giants lose a game, everybody likes to beat up Eli Manning. But
Yeah.
when he puts 34 points on the board the next week, they don't give him his kudos that he deserves. I think Eli complimented with Barkley and a couple receivers. There's still a lot of football left in Eli, and I'm just saying I don't know if, and this is only me, but if the Giants jumped a year too early on the quarterback where they could have done a little more patchwork on their defense.
Right. Yeah, I agree with you
I
there.
don't see why Eli doesn't have at least 2 years left.
Yeah.
I think that absolutely the Giants definitely should have gone defense here.
So
the
again,
defense at 17
Josh
as well.
Allen would have been your pick.
Absolutely. Well, you mentioned earlier how Duke was a really, really bad football team.
They were.
last year.
They were
And so you're going to kind of
I would
give.
say erratic.
Right.
I mean, they were.
You're going to give.
They made a bowl.
You're giving
a bowl.
Daniel Jones a pass here. Well, compared to the rest of the NFL, what are the Giants? Giants are Duke. I mean, they're a team that is.
They're worse than Duke.
They're worse than Duke.
Yeah.
And so Daniel Jones was average at best in with a really, really bad team around him. What are you expecting to do with the Giants team that's really, really bad around him? You need to build first and then draft your quarterback.
No.
I've been saying this forever.
The caller is right on a couple of counts. The offense, considering they had a horrendous line, that they appear like it should be at least average, which will be okay with me. John Hulupa, well, let me start from the left end. Nate Soldier, who they got as a free agent, big money from New England, played much better second half of the year. Will Hernandez, a kid they took second round last year, developed into a really good left guard. John Hulupa, the center, got hurt the third game, missed the rest of the year. He'll be back. We got Kevin Zeitler in the Odell Beckham trade from Cleveland, rated as the number one pass protecting right guard in football. Mm-hmm. Then we just picked up this week Mike Remmers, free agent from Minnesota. Now you're going to say, well, geez, Hawk, it's middle of May. What took so long? He had back surgery. The Giants want to make sure that he was fit to play. He had played before for Pat Schumer. So again, I'm not expecting like the Philadelphia Eagles offensive line, but just get me up to average. And we got arguably, and caller, I'll tell you this, I checked on fantasy football, the number one ranked player, Saquon Barkley, in fantasy football.
All right.
Yeah.
Oh, no doubt about it.
And I'm a firm believer.
And that's another reason. And again, I love this quarterback, and he could. It's just I didn't feel he fit the Giants' needs right now.
Well,
I'm not saying he's not worth a sixth pick. That's don't get me wrong here. I saw at that point in time and what was on the board, I saw some instant impact right there. And again, what do I know? That's why I work 40 hours a week.
Yeah, but to your point, by letting the quarterback position go this year, I actually agree with you because next year you have one of the strongest quarterback classes to come out in recent memory. The mock draft for 2020, and this guy's good at pronunciations, the quarterback from Alabama
Tua Tagovailoa
is slated to go number one next year. The number two pick next year's draft is the hippie kid from Clemson.
Trevor Lawrence.
And the 8th overall pick is the kid I talked about last year from Oregon, Justin Herbert.
Yeah.
You've got, and the Giants could have, tanked this year.
Well, yeah, and that's what I'm saying is the Giants, you go out and take defense play, you go and use the 6th and the 17th pick. You take two defensive guys. Two rookie pass rushers aren't going to win you 9-10 games in a season. You're going to be right back where you were last year, just with Eli Manning as your quarterback and without Odell Beckham Jr. on the team. So the Giants would be, hell bent on 4 or 5 wins again this year, and that would put them in a perfect spot, top 5, 3 really good quarterbacks to the top of next year's class. I don't
disagree with you or the caller.
I think Jones is a good pick,
Dave Gettleman,
but they could have waited.
Who's smarter than me. That's why I'm stuck on a local access TV station for really big money.
No offense to Northwest Access TV.
Right. But at this point in middle of May, I'm giving the benefit, because I'm a Giant fan, the benefit of the doubt to Dave Gettleman. I'm hoping Eli plays great this year where they extend him a year. Now, you look at Aaron Rodgers, when he got drafted by Green Bay, he was supposed to be a top 10 pick. For whatever reason, he dropped to the 22nd position to Green Bay. Green Bay was not looking at a quarterback. They said, what the heck, Aaron Rodgers out of Cal? Let's take him. He sat on the bench 3 years.
Yeah.
All right, 3 years.
And
Tom Brady didn't. I don't believe Tom Brady started his first game as a Patriot.
So, you
never know.
Yeah, but like I'm saying, that's the difference between the 6th pick and the 26th pick.
And at the same time,
I'm sure it'll work out well. And it's just, you talk to 10 people, you'll have 10 different opinions on it. But, I'm sure it'll work out well for you guys. And, he's a, very, very nice guy. I saw his workouts. It was very impressive. And, I'm sure he'll have a very good career with you guys.
Yeah.
Well, Dave Gettleman sure hopes so.
Yeah.
Dave, got to talk about hanging your hat on Daniel Jones.
Yeah, the pick I really like, the Giants moved back into the first round with a 30th overall pick.
Yeah.
So they had 3 number 1 picks. They took DeAndre Baker, the number 1 rated cornerback out of Georgia. So we've kind of revamped our defense. Now, what did we win last year? 5 games?
Yeah.
All right, 5 games.
Listen, I'm not going to sit here and say we're playoff bound, but if we can jump to like 8-8 this year and make strides and make the team better for when Jones is ready.
But again, you see, if you have a similar season as last season, you think Daniel Jones
absolutely.
is playing the last third of the season?
I just don't see the Giants they've done in free agency trades. It's just patchwork. I don't think they've done anything to put them in a positive.
I thought it was a brilliant
chance
trade.
to win more than 5 games.
Olivier Vernon did nothing with the Giants other than his first year. And I'm going to use the saying for another player on a different sport later in the show. Olivier Vernon proved he was a Robin, was not a Batman. The only good season he had was his first year when Jason Pierre-Paul was still on the team. When Pierre-Paul got traded to Tampa, it was expected that Vernon was going to be the man. Never showed it, but we got rid of him and Beckham. We got Jabril Peppers, Kevin Zeitler, and the first-round pick, 17th overall.
Yeah, but first-round picks don't win you games this year, though.
Well, not this year, I agree. But the Giants were not going to go from 5 wins to 10, 11 wins.
Right.
It's
I just don't think that it's not to be like,
it
don't have any.
happen today. I mean, the Rams did it.
Yeah, but the Rams got better. The Rams went out and signed free agents and made trades for players instead of picks.
And see, that'll be one good thing for Daniel Jones when the quarterback's best friend is maybe the best running back in football.
Yeah.
So
that'll be
certainly
nice.
be able to ease into that position with the improved offensive line, and it'll be a lot easier for him to quarterback the team.
And I'm of the belief that the tomb of unknown players, a.k.a. the running back, is coming back in style now. I think the Rams showed it with, who's the running back?
Todd Gurley.
Todd Gurley, who, God bless him, I hope that knee injury, and I know very little. He was a shell of himself during the playoffs.
Well, they said it's arthritis.
And I still think if Gurley was
after they
healthy,
just signed him to a huge contract,
the Rams could have beaten.
And for that matter, the Patriots seem to be going back towards more running. I mean, Sony Michel.
Exactly.
That pick doesn't look too bad right now.
Well,
It's questioned at the time.
football ought to, because you're paying your corners, safeties, and everything way too much money.
Yeah.
That's where all your money is going. If you turn the clock back 10 or 15 years, those guys weren't making as much money because it was a ground game.
Yeah.
Your defensive linemen and your linebackers were making the plays.
Yeah, the old rule was with safeties, you never draft a safety until the 3rd round because they just weren't that important as a player.
Yeah.
But in this past crazy league, safety is extremely important.
League.
Yeah. No, I think that I wouldn't be willing to say that it's trending back to a running league yet.
Not yet, but
as long as there's teams, I think, you look at the Rams as one. I think the Vikings are another team.
Patrick
Green Bay,
Mahomes loves,
the Chiefs with Patrick Mahomes. I think 9 out of the top 10 teams in the league are always going to be, or for the next 10 years at least, are going to be a pass-heavy team. Even the Patriots are still a pass-heavy team. They've included the run a little bit more, but I mean, as long as the quarterback is the go-to guy on the offense, that we're going to be seeing two passes for every run.
Well, I almost can guarantee you Sonny Michel will get 1,200 yards rushing this year.
And the Pats even drafted another good back from our German.
Sonny Michel's got
another SEC back who was a number 2 back on whatever team, but a very good Auburn.
I'll let you
maybe
know.
Auburn.
Well,
but
Remember
anyway,
his name.
Damian Harris
Yes,
from Alabama.
Sorry,
They
from
got
Bama.
they got the quarterback from Auburn and Stidham.
In fact, that's it. I had never. I'll be honest. I had never even heard the guy's name. I'm kind of intrigued.
He was
by that guy.
he was a
He had
good
great
quarterback.
junior year at
He
Auburn.
was a very
let's
good
get back
quarterback
to
in the
caller.
SEC.
Yeah.
So.
Anyway.
So, okay.
Okay, you guys, I'll let you go. I'm hogging up the line here. We'll let some other callers chime in. And great show, you guys. Good seeing you, Red.
Yeah, you too.
See, the star of the show now.
Thanks, Bobby. Thanks for checking in. Thanks for everything.
Okay, the Stidham, I know very well.
Oh, really?
I think that was an incredibly
Well,
good
I'm
value pick
liking this pick.
at fourth. He's, let me see here.
Jared Stidham.
He's
I hadn't
6 feet 2, 210.
Yeah.
Very good. To me, there really wasn't that much difference after the first top three quarterbacks. And
Yeah.
they weren't even top quarterbacks this year.
Right.
But to get him in the fourth round, I think is a good spot. And Brady wants to play till he's 45. So 2, 3. He's healthy. He's, last time he was injured, it was 12 years ago.
The Pats seem, again, for what little it's worth down the road, seem to have had a very good. I love their first draft. Khalil Harry, who they just signed.
Yeah.
Sounds like a great
It's
pick.
Exactly what Tom Brady has been
Thank
missing
you.
for almost his entire career.
The Pats, in my opinion, and I'm not going to grade anything out because I'm a firm believer you wait 3 years, throw the
But it looks like
for
a good draft.
the 32nd position, which everybody praised, I wish I was drafting 32nd
Right.
in April.
Right.
6'2", 225, just a really solid receiver.
Out of Arizona State, Sun Devil.
Yeah, so it was a good pickup. Now, Sonny Michel, I thought had a really nice rookie season.
Good year.
I know it's Tom
When he was
Brady's
healthy.
Right. I know it's Tom Brady's team. However, you're missing a tight end this year. Okay. And Brady's a year older. He's still one of the top three quarterbacks, if he's still not the very best quarterback in football. But I think they're going to lean, if healthy, on Michelle a little bit more.
Yeah, could be.
I think that's fair, and
why
they've got quite a committee in the backfield too, because they bring back
Burkhead-
James Wright.
Burkhead's good, the guy
they
they
have
drafted.
Rex Burkhead. Damian Harris is coming in.
We haven't even mentioned James White.
Yeah, James
How useful
White.
is James?
And
I'm
what-
not sure if did they
may not be. He
did they
didn't
bring
run
back Jeremy Hill from the guy that they brought in
who
from
was
Cincinnati?
injured early. I think
He
he's
got
still on the
injured in week
roster.
1,
And they loved. He was looking real good.
He was not a bad running
No,
back.
I think
before he
he's
got
still
hurt.
on the roster.
And for the future of the Patriots, and I know everybody always loves to say the window is closing. You look at their Eastern Division foes.
Yeah.
They're all second-year quarterbacks.
Yeah.
Miami, Rosen.
Yeah,
Josh
Rosen is
Rosen.
with Miami. Then
Josh Allen with Buffalo.
and Sam Darnold with the Jets.
with the
With the
Jets.
Jets.
Did you guys see what the Jets did?
They fired their GM today.
They've waited
Really?
until after the draft and after free agency,
Oh,
and
is
they
that right?
fired their
They fired
GM
the
and their front
GM?
office.
And their
Really?
brand new head coach, Adam Gase, is the interim general manager.
Really?
Now, I read a blurb
That's interesting
today
timing. That's
that
weird.
It just ensures that the Patriots will be winning the AFC
Adam
for years
Gase,
to come.
the new head coach,
Yeah.
did not want Le'Veon Bell on his team. Guy's a cancer, okay? New coach, you don't want to deal with locker room issues to start, okay? You give me a good line, and even Red was going to rush for 1,000 yards, period.
Yeah.
Did not want him. They spent a boatload of
They're a
money
dime a
on
dozen,
him.
yeah.
But
You
this
don't
GM
spend money on-
was horrible. He just has a horrible draft past.
It's just interesting that they waited until after free agency.
Well,
and
my
the
guess
draft
is
because
with
now the
new
GM
head coach
is in here, and they're bringing in a new GM now, and it's okay. You're stuck with everything that the old guy did.
Yep.
You'd have to think that there was some sort of falling out between the
was.
GM and the owner,
was.
where the owner was just like, you know what, we're not going to deal with this, and why wait and fire him when you can just fire him now?
Other thing about New England, when's the last time they spent a first-round pick on a wide receiver?
For years.
Or I was watching him.
And the thing, too, is you go back, who are the greatest quarterbacks of all time? And a lot of people say Joe Montana. Well, who did he have for a receiver? Jerry Rice. You name all the great receivers over an extended period of time Tom Brady had in his career. Nobody.
Yeah,
you had the Randy Mosses of the world, 2 years, 3
Yeah, there
years.
are a couple
you had
years.
good wide receivers
But
that
Tom
went on
Brady
for a few years.
has made a very comfortable lifestyle for many average receivers.
Yeah.
Now, and I always give a freshman player coming in, time to get the green off his body. But that's a good pick. And the Stidham from Auburn, I think.
Stidham, yeah.
Stidham,
No, I think that's an intriguing pick.
They didn't waste a first round, second round pick.
Yeah.
They took him at a great spot.
Yeah.
He is only a fourth round pick, even if he turns out to be a bump. It's only a fourth round pick. He could be the heir apparent to Brady.
It's possible, yeah.
And they get a bunch of the compensatory picks. They get a bunch of more picks next year for losing guys like Trey Flowers.
Yes.
They get some decent picks for those guys.
Yeah.
Yep. So
And the big lineman there, Shelton.
Trent Brown.
Trent Brown.
Right, Trent Brown. But they got a bunch of picks.
Yeah,
but-
and the Giants, I think, got a steal in their fourth round. They got Julian Love, a corner out of Notre Dame, who was expected to go in the second round. And I know you, Leonard, say, boy, these mock drafts are wasted time. And
I don't say away. I just think it gets
and
the attention
I know
it gets
you
is
kind
unreal.
of politely roll your eyeballs when I tell you how much time I spent on the drafts. Now, there's this kid out of Iowa State. I think his name is Hakeem Butler. He's 6'4", 6'5". I thought he was going to be a nice number 2 pick for the Giants. Would have bet my life he was the second round pick. He didn't go till the fourth round.
Did the Giants?
Montez Sweat, who was like a top 7.
Very, very highly touted.
Right. He went in the 20s. So a lot
what happened with Sweat, though, was in the combine, they falsely diagnosed him with a heart condition,
Oh.
and it
Is
scared
that right?
off all the teams.
Falsely?
Yeah, and then it came out like the night of the draft that he didn't actually have a heart
that right?
condition,
Yeah. Wow.
but he still slipped all the way down. So you look at the Redskins. I'm telling you, the Redskins won the NFL draft easily because they got Dwayne Haskins, who was projected to be a top 10 pick, and they got Sweat, who was projected to be a
I'm
top
going to not politely disagree with you. You're wrong. Okay, Haskins played 1 year. Red, I
He
know
threw
you're
50
younger.
touchdowns.
I know you're younger than us. But can you just tell me all the great Ohio State quarterbacks in the history of the NFL? Go.
Well, I'd like to say
Go.
okay, but Haskins
Because
is
they're in a system. You could play. They're one of the great teams in college
He had
football every year with a great coach in Urban Meyer. You could have played quarterback for Ohio State. You might have not been a first-round pick, but I would have taken you.
But none of the Ohio State quarterbacks in the last 15, 20 years threw 50 touchdowns in the season.
He did raise 50, right.
Haskins is the best quarterback to come out of the Big Ten since Tom Brady, and I don't think that there's any doubt about that.
Tom Brady was not a great quarterback at Michigan State.
Then go back to Jim Harbaugh. He's the best quarterback to come out of the Big Ten
Harbaugh
since
played
Jim
with
Harbaugh.
Chicago, and right.
Harbaugh was a good quarterback in his time. He is the best quarterback to come out of Ohio State in a very long time. The numbers backed it up. He had an incredible season, and it was only his sophomore year. Just imagine what he could have done if he stayed there. He would have been in. If he would have stayed until his senior year, he would have been in the discussion for the number 1 overall pick. I think he probably would have been the number 1 pick in 2 years. But and for him to fall down to 15 after there were so many teams that were kind of rumored towards him, especially to the Giants at 7. He is just such a good. He throws the ball very well. He's kind of like an Aaron Rodgers type. He's not the smartest quarterback, but he'll throw it 100 yards.
No. Because after the Giants took Daniel Jones 6, where were the phone calls to these teams before the 15th spot? Because everybody knew Washington needed a quarterback. If they thought Haskins was that good of a player, they would have jumped inside the top 10.
None of those teams needed a quarterback, though.
Denver at 10.
Denver got their quarterback afterwards, and they already have 2 quarterbacks on the roster.
Who would have thought that Drew Lock would have fallen to 42nd?
They got a steal
the
there.
Quarterbacks this year, in my lifetime, which is a fairly long lifetime, this was the overall weakest quarterback class I can ever remember.
Yeah, it was weak, but Haskins will be the best quarterback to come out of it.
Okay. Now, and again, I like Daniel Jones. I like his physique. Haskins is a big fella, too. But Daniel Jones, and I don't know Haskins that much. I've done a lot more studying on Jones. I can see the leadership quality on Daniel Jones.
Yeah, I think
he's got a lot of similarities to Eli Manning. I like these guys that aren't in your face, that they have that quiet leadership. And I think that the duress he was under with Duke last year is actually a benefit for him.
Not to mention, I mean, talking about it, all the critics out there, like I said, when I limped into Ocean City after 10 hours of just people just beating up on the pick. And I can understand the criticism. He's obviously well aware. I appreciated the post at 2 days after I got a couple of New York posts, and one was, "Hey, give the kid a break." Phil Simms saying, "Hey, easy, folks. Let's see what the kid can do down the road." But I hope he knows he's got a gazillion critics out there. You'd think. I mean, Brady. I think Brady, every day of his life, he goes back to, I was a 6th-round pick. Yeah, I'm going to show these guys. I hope he's got some of that in him because he's got a million critics out there. We'll see.
He's wearing number 8. He wore 10 in high school. I think
he had my lucky night.
He wore 17 last year. But the 4th-round pick for the Giants last year, Kyle Lauletta out of Richmond, wore 17.
He's still on the team, I assume?
Thanks. Final cuts. They'll try to trade him for like a 6th-round pick or something like that. I think 17 will be available if he wants it.
But yeah, I think getting back to you talking about leadership, what's Aaron Rodgers? He is a guy who just terrible leader, terrible locker room.
Doesn't sound like the easiest guy to be dealing with.
I think Aaron Rodgers is the most overrated player in football.
He's a Super Bowl champion. I mean, when he's healthy, he leads an average team to the playoffs every year.
He's a stat machine. He is despised. He's right in the locker room.
Nobody likes him, but
it's all about
I'm not saying Haskins is that, but you don't have to be a leader.
Haskins
if you can sling the football, you're gonna find success in this league. Yeah. Haskins can do that, and he doesn't have to be a leader. We don't really know if he's a leader yet or not. He had 1 year as a starter at Ohio State, which is the biggest football program in the country. He comes in 20 years old, a sophomore, first season starting, and puts up an incredible season in a really tough defense, first Big Ten conference. I'm really confident that he's going to be a good quarterback.
I think it was a better learning ground for Jones at Duke with a horrible offensive line.
Not to mention Coach Cutcliffe. I mean, an absolutely solid coach.
Duke receivers had the 3rd most drops in all of college
football. It seems like I kept hearing that.
So we'll see. That's what makes sports shows like this so much fun.
One of the criticisms, and again, this was a tough game for me to watch, Duke Clemson. I think they hadn't played Clemson in a few years. Obviously, best team in the country, but still.
They played good the first half. I watched that game. He played good the first half.
First half, he didn't look too bad, and then Clemson kind of took off. But that's Clemson. Pretty good team.
Aren't they national champions, Clemson?
Yeah. Dabo Swinney might be making more than Coach K.
Kid. What's his name again?
Trevor Lawrence.
Trevor Lawrence. Yeah.
Real nice kid, too.
Looked like a great kid. Yeah.
He's just a fun-loving guy.
Dabo may have succeeded Coach K. Dabo's up to about 10 mil a year or so.
Is he getting that much?
Nice. Life, I think Dabo's got a pretty good plan. I like Dabo.
Dabo's a good coach.
We talked a couple years ago on the show. The football program built a $42 million facility.
Might have been more than that even.
For their football players to hang out, video games, and this, that, and that. Clemson football, I would say, is what Duke is to basketball, but it's pretty close.
Both ACC schools, of course.
Yeah.
What team is Clemson in?
Clemson, South. I think I was off on. I think you asked me where it was. It's actually, if you can picture South Carolina, upstate's kind of the far from Charleston, and Columbia is kind of middle of the state. Clemson is from, if you're heading towards Atlanta, it's not too far from the Georgia, maybe within an hour of the Georgia border, but kind of a bit upstate, nowhere near the coast. Anyway.
Was there a guy?
I think I might have mentioned like an hour out of Charlotte, probably more like 2 to 3 hours kind of.
And what's at Clemson? Was there a guy named John Clemson, or was there? What's the history of
Can't
that?
tell you.
I probably should check on that. So listen, I do want to beat up on a guy, and I was going to talk hockey and the resurgence of the Red Sox.
My Brew? I'm in love with my Bruins right now. If you want to talk hockey,
no, I want to talk about, and I'm going to use that phrase again. I think we've seen enough of this guy. He has proven himself explicitly. He's a Robin, not a Batman, and I speak of Kyrie Irving.
Oh, good. I'm happy to talk Kyrie.
I cannot get him
out of here.
Out of Beantown.
Yeah. I'm with you. I've got Odell Beckham
individually,
thoughts.
He's a top 10 player in the NBA.
Hey, great stat.
Probably
Look at his
the greatest
stats.
finisher I have ever seen. The guy's amazing. But I say on the show, when you're a top player, you make the players around you better.
Right.
Larry Bird was the best at that. Magic Johnson was great. Wayne Gretzky, even though he's got a zillion points, I'm not a basketball expert, but I do watch every single game. it's Kyrie and Kyrie alone. Now, you look at last year's team. Kyrie was injured during the playoffs. We made it to the Eastern Conference Finals.
Got
Terry
one
Rozier
win away from the final.
Jayson Tatum was the man.
Yeah.
Okay, Jaylen Brown played better. With Kyrie back this year, they had to take a lower co-star role. And Jayson Tatum, I'm sorry, is not a co-star. This guy is...
He is the star,
He's silk.
And Kyrie wasn't bashful. I mean, he gave some criticism to those guys.
Oh, absolutely.
The problem with Kyrie is that he is a top player in the NBA, but he will never win a championship by himself.
Absolutely.
He won a championship because of LeBron James. He does not have the attitude of a champion. And
he's got a lousy attitude.
He is just an absolute cancer. He is an Antonio Brown. He is a Le'Veon Bell to this Celtics team. He is a fantastic player. I'll say that till the end of my days. But
although for the record, he had a horrible playoff. He was
shot 30%.
He is
terrible.
I don't see him winning a championship as a number one guy.
What are the rumors? Signing with the Knicks. He's a hometown kid. And Kevin Durant,
fine with me,
who I have a lot of disrespect for, he decided to become a Robin. That I told Duke he's signing with the Celtics. They even had Tom Brady in on negotiations.
He was very close to signing
very
with the
close,
Celtics.
and he even admitted he was very close to signing. He was going to be the man with the Celtics. Okay, he took the easy route to go on the coattail of Damon,
Steph Curry and Klay Thompson, Draymond Green.
Right, he coattail again to one of the top 10. But I think he wants the highlight, the spotlight on him. Madison Square Garden, even though the Knicks have been horrible for the last 30 years, is still the NBA Mecca.
Right.
So him and Kyrie could be very well playing together.
It's possible.
Now, I'm hearing rumors already. The draft last night.
Draft lottery,
The lottery. They said, and I quote, it looked like Zion was hit by a truck last night.
And I heard the interview.
And the Knicks didn't get the first roll.
Because it looked like New York, possibly Chicago. I mean, this guy literally is the best guy coming out of college since LeBron came out of high school. He's that good.
No, I mean, that's the line, and it seems legit. We'll see, but no, that's the line.
Now, the NBA, you put them on New York, you put them on Chicago, another big market. New Orleans, the truth is, it's a mid-city in this country. New Orleans is not a big-time city, period. The brow, Anthony Davis, is one of the top 5 players in the league. We don't hear much about him because he plays in New Orleans. It's not New York, it's New Orleans. Yeah. Now, I'm catching rumors.
A great city, by the way.
Knicks have the 3rd overall pick. They could package that pick, which would be the guard from Duke.
Probably R.J. Barrett.
R.J. Barrett. Give them their first pick from last year, Kevin Knox out of Kentucky, along with a couple other bodies. And Zion will be the focus on that team if Davis doesn't want to be there. But if Davis is smart, he would stay in New Orleans because Zion.
I don't think Davis is staying in New Orleans.
Sounds like the line.
That would be my bet.
I don't think that some rookie is going to keep him around. I think that he's still going to get traded to the Lakers.
Here's Celtics talk. The Celtics aren't going to get Anthony Davis.
I think there's Celtics talk, but the Celtics talk revolves around Jayson Tatum. I refuse to even listen to those because
this is 1 year.
The thought of trading Jayson Tatum at this point.
We're talking for 1 year.
For 1 year of Anthony Davis.
Insane. The guy who's had tons of injuries. That's insane.
I would guess
give away the team.
Celtics would have to start by giving all 3 of their first round picks. They have 14, the last lottery pick. They have 20 and 22, and they're going to want Tatum. I think they might.
Absolutely. Maybe Jaylen Brown,
too. I don't think Celtics would give Tatum up. I think Brown. But I think if Brown had got more responsibility, his game would improve.
Forget Anthony Davis, but no, I want Kyrie.
In the conference finals in the play, or the entire playoffs 2 years ago.
Yeah.
So, I mean.
Now, we beat Indiana in the first round this year, 4-0.
Swept them.
But
bit of a surprise. Not a good team. Not a good team.
They have a top 10 player in
Victor Oladipo.
This Victor Oladipo, I'm telling you, I said top 10. He's a top 5 player. He's that good. If he was there, because one guy makes all the difference.
Because he got hurt. He got a leg injury.
25 games into
injuries.
And
like that,
but Pacers probably would have beaten the Celtics. And Gordon Hayward, I've given him, the guy.
I don't think he'll ever be the same.
Okay. David Handy said he had the same thing.
Maybe one
David
more year,
said
but very
2 years.
disappointing.
And I've heard from other people 2 years. And I will be on this guy's case. This guy politely was a stiff, few good games, horrible on the playoffs. Gordon Hayward, to me, is about a number 9 guy on the team.
Well, you look at Gordon Hayward, and there was a terrible injury in there. But let's face it, we're going into year 3 of this Gordon Hayward contract. It's a 4-year deal. It's either put up or shut up. There's no more. You can't be like, well, the verdict's still out on this guy 3 years into his contract. Even though he missed that season, you can't sit 3 years into a max contract where you're paying a guy $30 million a year and say, okay, we're just going to wait one more year and see if he's good. No, if you're paying a guy max money, even with the injury, he needed to put numbers up this year. He simply didn't.
Can I give you a little bit of Christopher Gasper in the Globe?
Yep.
I mean, I've been all over. I've been reading Kyrie this is first about Hayward. Hayward was a ghost, shooting 25.9% in the final 4 games of the Milwaukee series. And the perception that he received preferential treatment from Coach Brad Stevens, undermined the coach's message all season. Just a little bit about Kyrie. Again, Gasper's all over these guys. If you're going to build your team around a mercurial, iconoclastic talent such as Irving, then the rest of the roster has to have stability for the coach. This one didn't. To maximize Irving's abundant talent, you need the requisite role players and a real running mate that he considers appear to relieve him of some of the burden. This roster had neither, just a little more. We can't leave out Kyrie. It's nice that Marcus Smart kind of defended him. But as Irving said, this is what he signed up for, to be the key guy. That's how it works when you're the face of the franchise. Irving has to own this. He has to wear this. He has to accept it. He has to use it to become the player he wants to be. Dodging and ducking responsibility for his primary role in a season gone sideways is conduct unbecoming. He needs to express in blunt terms, like Stevens did, that his performance wasn't good enough, and you'll never hear that. Yeah. What did he say after he was, 6-7 for 23 one game?
He needed to shoot
I
more.
should have taken 30 shots.
Yeah.
He owned up to nothing.
So
Brad Stevens, and again, he maybe should be getting a lot more grief. He did quickly say, I did a lousy job,
Danny Ainge and the Celtics will now head into the June draft and the July free agency with 3 number 1 picks in hand. Boston currently only has 6 players under contract: Jaylen Brown, Jayson Tatum, Marcus Smart, Gordon Hayward, Jurison Yabusele, and Robert Williams, their first-round pick last year, often injured, but the kid shows potential.
Yeah, might have some
Kyrie
potential.
Irving, Al Horford, and Aaron Baines, who I like a lot, have player options to return next season. Terry Rozier, Daniel Theis, Brad Wanamaker are entering restricted free agency. Marcus Morris, who I like a lot, is an unrestricted free agent. Now, Terry Rozier
Terry made a lot.
has been on in the news.
Pretty much said that he's
Couple
not
ESPN
coming back.
Right.
And
But he also
he's
pretty much
Kyrie
said
Irving
that-
2.0.
He pretty
I mean, he's the same guy, isn't he?
Yeah.
But I still wonder, without Kyrie, I think his big problem from his point of view was he was just he got little playing
He
time and
proved
stuff
in the
after a very good
playoffs
year.
last year that
Right.
he could be the quarterback of the team.
I think if you make him the quarterback, and I'm not sure you want to do that, but if you do that, I think he might be okay. I think
I'm okay.
with Kyrie,
Yeah.
forget it.
Yeah.
I am okay with the Celtics saying, okay, we're gonna let Kyrie go, and then from there you say, all right, we've got Terry Rozier, we've got Marcus Smart that can run the point, and you go from there. You've got incredible talent around you. I'm assuming Al Horford will come back.
You
Al
certainly
Horford-
want to try to bring Al Horford back.
He can opt out of his contract, but he will
sure
be
he
stupid.
won't.
He
Yeah.
gets $30 million.
Although
in
his
final
line,
year.
the line on him is, as I'm sure you've heard, he would like maybe
Extension.
say a 3-year contract for not megabucks, and maybe the Celtics should do that.
I
I'd
would
like to
say
see him back.
if they gave him 2 additional years at $20 million, he would take it.
Yeah, I think so. He might well be back.
And
The rest of that team's really good. They've got 3 first-round picks. So
Especially if Jayson Tatum. I mean, Tatum, at best went sideways. If he can build, after his freshman year, Hawk, hey, this guy could be, superstar potential, and I kind of forgot about him.
I
this
think
year.
everything changes once Kyrie Irving is out of the picture.
I want Kyrie, but the line seems to be that the Celtics will try to give Kyrie mega bucks and bring him back.
They're going to offer him a
believe that?
contract.
They
They will offer him a contract. They'd be crazy not to.
But why would they be crazy not to if he's like
he
a
can
cancer
get
here?
like $40-50 million more if he signs with the Celtics versus with another team.
But Nick, why? If
Because
he's the problem, why do you want him?
you've got to give the offer to him there.
But I'm asking why. If he's a problem, why do you have to do that?
Because you just don't let those kind of guys walk.
But if look at the year they had, coming off a magical year.
But
and Kyrie's back.
Do you know who it reminds me of? Carmelo Anthony was that same type.
I don't agree.
I think that you give him the contract. I'm hoping that he says no.
But that's insane. Why, bro? If you're hoping he says no and he doesn't, why give him the contract? Hawk, would you give him the contract?
No. I think the Celtics need to make a statement by we want team players. There's
this year was after the magical year they had. This year was an.
I think that,
and I said I
don't mean to blame it all on Kyrie.
I'm on the golf course with him
bunch of it.
in September, and I remember clearly. I said, Duke, there's no point in even playing the NBA season this year. It's clear cut. It's going to be Golden State, which they're going to be in the finals against the Boston Celtics. There's nobody. Toronto, forget about it. And
without knowing any of this, I said, wait, assume
he did
nothing.
say.
I wish I had said Kyrie's going to go south. I didn't say that.
Yeah,
but I never assume anything.
But
I'm puzzled by your thinking.
I think that you sit Kyrie Irving down and you say, listen,
good luck.
You're a generational talent. This is your team if you want it, but things have to be different than what they were this year. And
I have no faith that
you say we will give you this contract if you're okay. If you can commit to just being a better teammate and being a leader of this team. Wow. If you want to be a number 2, go elsewhere. If you want to be a number 1 and have that legacy on your name, then you stay here. And they give him the contract, and that puts things up to him.
Puts things up to him, and Kyrie day one says, "Yep, I'm buying into this," and the next day he'll say something crazy.
What's the expression?
Why would you assume anything?
Dude,
I think that you have to because it's Kyrie Irving. He's an absolute superstar.
He's a great talent.
A leopard can't change its spots.
Yeah, I mean,
he's been in the league now he came in at 19. He's been in 6-7 years. He's not going to change.
Right, Nick. If I thought he could adapt and change, I might buy what you're saying. I have zero confidence that's the case.
Right, but
Kyrie's just his own. He's a very individualist.
If he feels like he doesn't want what the situation in Boston is right now, where he is the number 1, the leader of a really talented team. Then if he really doesn't want that, then I think that he'll go elsewhere. I don't think he's going to take $20 million more.
I think he needs another big-time player on the team.
Okay,
I think
with
he's
Kyrie on the team,
bad top guy.
The growth of Brown and Tatum are retarded.
Yeah,
okay.
Certainly seemed to happen this year.
It's just Tatum needs the ball. Tatum's a better shooter than Irving is. Yeah. I mean, Irving's great going to the hoop, unbelievably great.
This will be very interesting.
But for the outside shot, and Jaylen Brown needs more responsibility.
I haven't heard somebody say today on maybe your show as a caller, hey, get rid of Kyrie, addition by subtraction. Obviously, you don't see it, but that might be a little strong, but that doesn't sound totally crazy to me.
So, quick question. It's a given Golden State will beat Portland in the finals.
I think so.
So, now.
Good effort by Portland. First Western Conference Finals since 2000, I think.
So, we have
players.
Milwaukee.
And my man, Rodney Hood. What about Rodney? He was getting beat up. He was considered a joke on Cleveland. Rodney has played some pretty good ball. He got injured, I guess.
Milwaukee and Toronto, I think, start the Eastern Conference Finals.
Two pretty good teams.
I'm a big Toronto fan. I think they play great team ball.
I'm a big Giannis guy.
I think that they'll win that series because
Toronto wins.
Yeah, because
Kawhi?
they play like you said, the team ball.
They really
the Celtics
do.
should have.
Who's got home? Milwaukee. Does
Milwaukee's number 1 seed.
Boy, that's a tough series for me to play.
Milwaukee's a one-man team though.
Yeah,
that's the problem.
But a pretty good team.
They've got Chris Middleton's not bad, but around him, there's just not Giannis is. He doesn't have as much help as Kawhi Leonard does. And
what does Kawhi do next year?
It's going to be his decision's been made a lot tougher unless he's already made up his mind. But if he goes to the finals and possibly even wins a championship in Toronto,
He's Mr. Canada.
It would be really, really difficult for him to
hear
leave.
a few words from him after they won their last game. He actually talked a little.
You watch Toronto, and you can tell that each player has been coached. This is what you're going to do. This is your response, and you're not going to. And they play such a cohesive game. I really enjoy watching the Raptors.
Good team.
Which reminds me, I still don't know how the Toronto basketball team got the nickname of Raptors. It means nothing.
Either.
You know?
I mean, like, I mean, you know what the word means, but I have no idea where it came from.
So, let's see. Hockey.
I'm loving my Bruin play.
Before I left for my vacation, I told Duke.
I mean, hockey, you've said all along that the Bruins had Stanley Cup talent.
Well, they
right?
do. They were second best team in the Eastern Conference, so this is not a fluke. But I told the Duke.
Noted how lucky they were. Though Columbus is a pretty decent team.
If they go to the Stanley Cup, they're going to earn their way. All the dominoes fall in place.
Already have.
Okay. We expected a tough series with Toronto. And
they were behind. They were behind 1-0, 2-1, 3-2.
Okay, but the Columbus upset, the Carolina upset. The Bruins in the second round played the 8-seeded team. In the next round, they played the 7th seed. So I told the Duke.
Just don't put down these teams too much.
No. It's not Boston's
When I'm
fault.
watching Columbus for 6 games, that's a pretty good team.
But there was nothing left.
Columbus was a decent team with that played a physical brand of hockey that's not.
But they beat Tampa.
Big
How the
anymore.
heck did they beat Tampa 4 straight games?
Here's how they beat Tampa. It's really simple when you look at it. They're able to play physical. You can't name one person on the Tampa Bay Lightning.
As good a team as they are, just very unphysical.
They're just not a physical team.
Well,
They're speed, scoring, and
in general,
team.
regular season hockey is not very physical anymore.
Regular season hockey is all about scoring.
The old days of the fourth line, the mucker, those guys aren't around
for the record,
anymore.
the Bruins' fourth line maybe has been their best line.
Well, and that's the difference.
There's skill on the fourth line now.
That's the difference. Is playoff hockey is old time hockey. There's physical. There's 4 lines. There's going to be the scrums after the whistle. And Columbus played that brand of hockey this year. They had those tough guys. They have Nick Foligno, Brandon Dubinsky, Josh Anderson's a tremendous young talent that can also just beat you up. And then on top of that, they had Sergei Bobrovsky, who's a fantastic goalie. And then they have John Tortorella, who I think is one of the best coaches in the NHL. And Tampa Bay has some really good goal scorers that went cold. They lost Kucherov to a suspension, and Vasilevsky didn't play his best hockey, and that's all it took. And Tampa Bay you wonder why Tampa Bay has been so good consistently over the last 10 years in the regular season. And they've made, one Stanley Cup final, and they lost in 6 games to Chicago. They are not built for the playoffs. Ever since they played Boston in 2011, they've been almost every year, and they never
fare
make it.
well against them last year.
Right, but they're not. You look at they went out and they lost. They lost to Washington. So Tampa is, for whatever reason, they just don't. They're so good in the regular season every year, but they're not built for the playoffs. And Columbus was just a really tough team. Boston, though, they matched up with them very well. They played good defense, and Tuukka Rask has just been able to stand on his head.
And tell me about Carolina. I mean, how they got there.
Carolina plays very similar to Columbus, and that's
came back from 2 down against the Isles, right?
Well, from against the Capitals, and they swept the Islanders.
Hadn't lost at home until last night.
Right. For the casual hockey fan, it's been a pretty dull, probably the dullest playoff, because there've been so many sweeps. Nothing's been really.
I think the first round was very exciting.
Toronto, Boston, another great series.
Right, but I don't think it's been dull, because it's just been absolute chaos.
I think everybody was waiting. Tampa's a very exciting team to watch play, and you're right. They're a great regular season team, but it's a different style of play during the playoffs, and they have a great coach in John Cooper. I think he's recognized that, and I think they'll get a couple playoff.
I think, they just need to bring in a little bit, those third, fourth line guys. Those guys you can pick up for on contracts for 2 years at $800,000 are going to make all the difference for them.
Bruins made some great pickups
there.
here.
Yeah, I mean, you look at Charlie Coyle, a guy that the Bruins
I grew up
brought
about
in.
10. He's from East Weymouth, right next to West Hingham.
Yeah.
Coyle is third on the Bruins in scoring right now in the playoffs. He's been really good. So is Marcus Johansson. The fourth line has really stepped up. We saw Chris Wagner score a goal last night and then get hurt.
I guess he's out.
I think he's done,
Did
though.
you see the game last night at all?
No.
The Bruins game? Wagner late in the game, as Bruins are desperately trying to hang on to a 2-1 lead, and he blocked a shot and got a serious arm injury.
Red, is it safe to assume San Jose will beat St. Louis? It's 1-1 right now.
Well, I wouldn't.
That one's tough because
that's tough.
St. Louis has the goaltender. Jordan Bennington is the
How many
best
people-
rookie
who knows?
goaltender of the year.
And the thing about St. Louis, correct me if I'm wrong, did they not fire their coach early in the season?
They fired their coach. I can't remember exactly when they did, but they did fire their coach recently.
And they just made an unbelievable
I don't have a
turnaround.
good handle on either
They,
team.
But San Jose is a really good team.
San Jose's solid.
And
They've been here.
Joe Thornton.
Joe Thornton.
San Jose's been in this position before. They advanced to the Cup Finals a couple of years ago. St. Louis hasn't been, I believe, since the year the Bruins beat them in 1970.
Bobby
or
Bobby
72.
69. No, was it
72,
70?
the year that Bobby Orr.
And they won again in 72
Yeah.
and
Right.
didn't win after that.
Right.
Bobby, the famous.
and,
Tripped by who? Who tripped him?
No, that's a great question. I should know
Barclay
that.
Plager of the
No, is
Plager
that right?
brothers.
That's a great question.
But yeah, St. Louis, they're hungry to
Great
get back.
question.
They've got a hot goaltender. That's what got Vegas to the finals last year. I think they can get it done, but the Sharks have the experience.
Is Jay Cowan on St. Louis a goaltender?
If he is, he's the backup. Bennington's their guy.
Yeah.
But the poor Hurricanes last night, the first period, did you watch the game last night?
I did see the highlights, but that jersey they wear, I've never seen that before. With the hurricane warning
Of
flag.
course, the old Hartford Whalers, of course. 22 years they moved south from Hartford.
I like those.
They
I
have
like
a
those
great. They have a
uniforms,
great jersey. Period.
And
But those hurricane warning flags, how cool
And the
is
fans,
that?
of course, who didn't support him so much during the regular season, but
Right.
postseason they
Talk about fair weather fans.
Why
You can
Fred?
get into PNC Arena for like $8 in the
Right.
regular
'Cause
season,
Carolina
and now
could-
they're sold out.
Could move
yeah.
in the future. Not
No,
I mean,
regular-
this to save the franchise. But I have checked attendance for Carolina games, 10, 11,000.
Yeah, pretty bad.
It's just not. It's
But
not
the-
a hockey.
Now
game.
they're
But
filling up.
the first period last night, they were all over Tuukka. Outshot the Bruins on like
Tuukka
20
won
to
that
6.
game single-handedly.
Oh,
yeah.
absolutely. He ended up giving, and believe not beating up Tuukka. The one goal he gave up was a little soft. Just kind
It
of,
was- yeah,
he
it was
was
soft,
unreal.
but, yeah.
Tuukka has
35
picked it up
saves.
here.
Yeah.
And of course, the line on Tuukka is Tuukka. You're obviously a well-regarded goalie. If you want to kick it up, you better win a cup. So this certainly might be easy. But Tuukka's playing. That first period, Hawk, they were under siege for almost 20
And you
minutes.
knew that was going to
I knew.
happen too.
Yeah.
When I saw 0-0, Bruins
Yeah.
may well
And again,
win this
the Bruins are
game.
a good team. They had second best record in the Eastern Conference. I think third overall in the.
You ready
so-
for how many different goal scorers they've had? Talk about the whole
19.
Very good, 19. It's
Yeah.
unreal.
Franchise record for the
Everybody's
Bruins.
everybody's kicking in
and
here.
and that's the recipe for success, where you don't have to lean on one guy.
But I'm loving the third and fourth lines being so
Yeah.
good.
Yeah.
I'm loving
Yeah.
these guys.
Yeah, for the-
Yeah,
So
they've got it figured
Let
out.
me skate off the ice and jump onto the links. PGA, which I
Jeez,
think
I've given this no
finally
attention.
will get some attention.
Bethpage Black.
Being in May, I mean it's kind of like the forgotten sister or brother being in August all these
Yeah.
years, and basically people's minds are on other things.
It's bad.
But
It ends
now-
up being bad timing for me because I got a weekend road trip, but that's me.
Yeah.
But I love Bethpage Black. I love par 70 courses, about 7,000 yards. I'm guessing there's no way the winner is doing better than single digits under par, and I'm wondering if the winner might do well to get about 5 under.
So the
This is a
odds,
tough course.
Brooks,
Koepka.
Koepka, and Tiger at 10-1. The guy who I think is going to win, Dustin Johnson's at 11-1.
Good guess.
Rory's at 12-1, and Ricky is 16-1.
Yeah.
John Ram 18-1, and lastly, Jason Day is at 20, or Justin Rose, I'm sorry, is 20-1.
Yeah, all good
now,
picks.
I do want to ask you guys a minor controversy. John Daly is allowed to use a golf
Yeah, they
cart.
let him use a cart.
Which-
Tiger was. Did you hear Tiger's
Right.
comment? Gee, I walked around with a broken leg.
Yeah, and
about
John
10 years
Daly's
ago.
retort was,
John
well,
Daly is just awesome.
He goes, I love John
I
Daly.
like John Daly.
Beer and cigarettes and
Yeah.
big gut. He said,
He's-
with Tiger's injury, he could get it fixed. His injury is non-fixable.
And what's
he
he-
says he can walk up a hill, but he can't walk down the hill.
What's
What's his injury?
It's a big, long word with about 7 syllables, which
like arthritic leg?
I'm not
Whatever.
sure. But I've always been the
Golf
belief
players.
is that's part of the game, is walking.
No, yeah, I don't think I hadn't thought about it much, but I'm not real happy that they're letting him use
Right,
the
because
cart.
don't you remember a dozen years ago, there
the
was
guy,
a
the
guy
guy with a serious disability?
a real disability.
Real
You're right.
disability.
And they did not allow him to play because when you're golfing, you golf a little bit. It's easy to go out today at 60-degree weather and golf because it's cool out. It's
think it
fine.
was
You
a
don't
pretty-
break. But when you're going out at 85, 90 degrees, walking 18 holes,
And even if it's not, it's a grind.
it's a grind. You know.
No, I'm not.
And
I
you're
haven't
on a
thought
golf
about it.
I say
cart.
let him.
I'm not happy
from
with
a
that
from a
decision.
complete outside standpoint. I don't watch golf. I don't play too much golf.
Yeah.
I'm not in with like the codes and the unwritten rules. But let him have a cart if he wants. Who cares?
But again,
but again, it's what Hawk's saying. A big
I
thing
get that.
about golf may seem, gee, how hard is it to hit a golf ball? What an easy sport. But a big, especially when you get hot weather. They may not have hot weather.
Well,
But-
if
but
it's
the
hot out and
stamina.
you don't feel like walking, get a
here's
cart.
the-
You're a
here's-
professional
but
on
But
here's
tour.
that's
in the
part
hill.
of like you being in shape to play football. These guys, when Duke and I were kids, half century ago, golfers look like me. Everybody, unfortunately, had the gut.
A lot of players.
Jack
said-
Nicklaus, Fat Jack, was a huge
Fat Jack.
man. Lee Trevino, Supermax, had a big. A lot of these guys were just out of shape. A lot of beer drinking, blah blah blah. But you look at Dustin Johnson. I swear, could play any sport he wanted. I mean, these guys' bodies
They're in
right now,
incredible shape.
and they spend so much time in the gym now. These guys are real, true
But I mean,
athletes.
a big part of the, and again, this is me. This is one of the 4 majors. First time it's been in, PGA's been in May and since 1949.
I did
think.
not know that.
But here's the headline for the Herald. Rested Tiger is ready. Beth Page will test stamina. Stamina is a big thing. 18 holes. We're talking, that a big part of it is can you hang in that long? So no, I'm not happy they're giving him a cart.
Yeah,
No,
and
that's a huge part of it is just walk, out there doing your thing for 18 holes. It's a battle out there. I mean, Hawk and I, Hawk plays a lot more golf than I do, but 9 holes can be,
and
can feel it at times.
And last year, it was so hot and humid, and I remember telling my golf buddy Joe, playing the back 9. We just play 9 holes 4 evenings a week.
It was
jump
hot
from the
last
10th
summer.
green to the 11th tee box. Joe, there's no air, there's no oxygen. I mean, you really have to be in shape. And if you're playing 18 holes, especially you get older, you start losing your body. You start arm swinging and all that. That's where you really have to be in shape. It's unfortunate that John Daly is injured, but those are the breaks.
I'm not impressed.
It's,
I mean, just the part of walking, just being out there, having to do that 4 days if you make the cut. I mean, that's a big part.
and
of
let
it.
me tell you, Red, there's nothing more difficult than any sport out there, and even harder than hitting a curveball, is hitting a little white golf ball on a consistent basis.
Yeah.
It is, and Duke knows this. You can go out, say you play 9 holes, shoot 39 one night, okay? Go home, you kiss your wife, and kiss your dog's nose and all that. You're happy. I really got the handle behind this game. You literally go out 24 hours later, and instead of shooting 39, you shoot a 49. You don't know. And any other sport you play, you pretty much know season, I'm going to hit 270 this year.
Yeah, in fact, of course, with the tee times, you play morning, afternoon. So some folks who play tomorrow afternoon, first round, are back out maybe very early Friday morning.
Yeah.
It's a grind. Here, the reference here is just a reference to Daly's right knee injury. Daly told the Associated Press earlier this month he cannot walk more than 6 holes. That's tough, John. Sorry. Well, Wood said with a long pause, I walk with a broken leg. So, the sly smile that followed the word so spoke volumes. Yeah, no, I don't think that's. I just don't think it's fair.
So-
And I like John Daly. John's a fun guy.
Okay, we'll turn to the diamond. We had such a big talk about football tonight. We hit the quarter pole this week of the baseball season already.
Wow.
Boy, is that right? A quarter.
The two big
quarter's
names
gone.
for $30 million a year. How are they faring? One, Bryce Harper of the Philadelphia
I hadn't even
Phillies.
thought of Bryce since probably before you left.
7 home runs, just multiply by 4. You can figure it out. That's 28 home runs, 25 RBIs, 100 RBIs. Now, batting average, guess.
240, but with a million
bad.
walks.
219.
Is that right?
Okay. Now, he was
But again,
hitting.
walks make
he
up for
was
that a
hitting
little bit, I
219
guess.
at this point last year with the Nats. He ended the season at 249 by getting hits, but he sacrificed his power to raise his batting
Boy,
average.
that's not real impressive.
My question to you.
Are the Philly Boo Birds on him at this point?
That I don't know, but my question to you is this. Now, he was the MVP, 2014, 15, I can't remember. Rookie of the Year. He's not a bum, and he's certainly rich now. But is it possible
he's rich.
at his young age that he might have peaked? That happens to people.
Well, I mean, you look at him. I mean, he was hitting 500-foot home runs when he was like 15 years old. So he was on the cover of Sports Illustrated. I
Yeah,
remember.
good point.
But I believe if he does not hit 40 home runs with Philadelphia, and that's a bandbox there.
That's a
it's not a success.
long contract.
Right,
To
it's
be hitting
13 years.
219 in your
Right,
first
and
year.
sure is.
Philly fans, good luck.
Yeah.
If he goes south, he's going to take a beating in that
and
place.
last year before the season, he was a lifetime 282 hitter. Slugger hitting 282.
So he ended up at 249 last year?
249, dropped his lifetime batting average down to 279.
Wow.
The other gentleman,
219.
Manny Machado.
He's not doing too bad.
I hadn't even noticed.
What
Hadn't even crossed
does
my
$30
mind.
million a year get for you? He's got 9 home runs,
Not
36
bad.
home runs,
Not bad.
23 RBIs, which
No,
would be
not
92, and he's hitting 265.
Boy,
it's
not
it's
real
not
impressive.
with $30 million.
I think
dollars.
I think with Machado though, you got to take his defense into account as well.
I
He's
always
a fantastic
he is
right.
third baseman, shortstop, wherever you put him.
And the other-
But those contracts.
And the other
sorry,
person-
insane
Yeah.
contracts.
The other person I bring up, and I said it on the show, Josh Donaldson got
Boy,
signed
20
so
plus?
prematurely, like 2 months earlier than Atlanta, who's really tight with their
Boy, they're
wallet.
Well, how did they
They
ever
gave
do
him
that?
just a 1 year, $23 million contract.
Oh.
So what's $23 million going to give you this year? 6 home runs, 19 RBIs with a 254 batting
That right?
average.
Wow. I'm telling you, if there's not collusion, every baseball general
It's not
manager
collusion.
ought to
They
get
see that.
ought to get together and say, hey, how about nobody giving anybody more than whatever,
Yeah.
15, 20 mil? Don't even think about it.
And one other note before we get into your Red Sox, Mariners catcher prospect Cal Raleigh went 2
Oh,
for
wow.
4 with 2 home runs on Sunday for High A Modesto. Raleigh now has
So I'm
7
sorry, what we're minor league? High
A for
High A,
Modesto in
full season A.
California. Raleigh now has 7 home runs on the year. The 22-year-old has struggled to hit for average and gets on base to begin the year with a 217, 282 on base percentage. But keep in mind that this is his first professional season, and the Mariners challenged him with a placement in the California League. A switch hitting backstop, Raleigh has shown the ability to hit for average in college and glimpses of it as a pro, and that average should go up as the season progresses. He has a real chance to be the starting catcher for the Mariners before the end of the 2021
Really?
season.
Any references to his catching? Is he a decent
Well, the
decent
word
catcher?
was when he played, I think, was Florida State. Great hitter, needed work on his defense.
And that's the thing that he will be the catcher
again,
for the
being a
Mariners as
catcher,
long as granted that
not
he's
like
not
he's
traded.
gotta hit 300
because
Right.
well, and you look at that, he hits for average and he can hit power as
Yeah.
well. That's
Right. Short
rare for
season.
Sandy
catchers.
Leon's got a
and the
major
fact that
league
he's a
job.
switch hitter as well.
Yeah.
So.
Short season last year after being drafted by the Mariners. He had 146 at-bats. Still had 8 home runs, 29 RBIs with 288 batting average
Sounds
with a
pretty decent.
367 on base percentage. So,
Wow.
I'm trying to remember what round, if it was 4th round or
Third.
third, it was
Third round.
Yeah, so.
Baseball drafts, I just pay
Yeah.
zero attention
It's
to.
tough because
good,
you
good
don't
for
see-
him. That sounds cool.
And the Red Sox, when I left for
last
vacation, they were floundering. And it's second coming of Christ here. What a nice rebound.
Last night, poor Chris. Chris Sale had some games like that last year. All Chris Sale does last night, strikes out 17 in 7 innings, and again not only he doesn't get the win, the Red Sox don't get the win.
And when you say 17-7, quickly that's pretty, pretty darn good.
No Red Sox pitcher had ever done that.
When you get
No pitcher had ever done that.
Is that right? Sorry, no pitcher.
17
is that right? No
strikeouts out of 21 outs. That's
right.
Is that right? No pitcher.
No pitcher in Major League history has thrown 17 strikeouts in just 7 innings of work.
Talk about nasty.
And,
looks like Chris seems to be back.
He's also only the second pitcher to lose when throwing that many strikeouts.
Although he didn't lose the game himself.
Right. But
Red, you better have the other guy. Don't leave me hanging.
It's the guy that you compare Chris Sale to all the time. He once killed a bird in spring training.
Randy Johnson?
Yes.
Okay.
1997.
Forget the big inning.
Yeah, he pitched 9 innings and gave up 4 runs through 19 strikeouts in that one.
So tough loss. Although the bullpen, which I think I recall saying I wasn't that worried about. That's it then. Brandon Workman's been pitching good ball, but screwed up last night, and then
you're going to have those. I mean,
but a tough loss. It just felt bad for Sale. Off to a 0-5, 1-5 now officially.
But they're still 2 games over 500.
But the Red Sox have regrouped pretty impressively.
Big time. And I mean, all they did was every team goes through a slump during the course of the season.
Hopefully that was their early season slump.
They just happened to choose the beginning of the season.
And last year they didn't go through a slump, so I think that's why the mass panic was kind of induced this year to begin the season.
They never lost more than 3 in a row last year, I think. No 4-game losing streak.
And it was kind of funny because over at the station I was putting together promos the other day, and they're a couple weeks back, and they're like, well, what happens if the Red Sox are bad at mid-season point? And they're talking about how they're going to trade JD Martinez. So it's just like the mass panic of sports radio going in there, but everything's going to be fine.
And I've heard nothing on Martinez is playing well, but nothing on his off.
The Dustin Pedroia thing, geez, I'm almost tempted to say, hey, one more injury. Cut your line.
Pedroia, he had a setback at a rehab. He was out in rehab in AA and was taken out of it with knee soreness.
I just can't.
He was hitting just 4 of 16 in AA as well.
Red.
What about your Nats talk? How are your Nats doing?
Well,
not great.
We're horrible, actually.
Is that right?
And I did put a note here: possible firing of their manager, Dave Martinez, or their general manager.
Right? Let's talk about that.
They're
really.
They have not been hit as hard as the Yankees with injuries, but they have like 4 starters out, along with their probably MVP Trey Turner at shortstop. He got a broken finger, got hit in the hand, 2nd week of the season. I thought with their vaulted pitching staff that they could fight through these injuries, but Strasburg and Max Scherzer, they've been good around 3.5, but they should be down around 2.5. They should be superstar like.
What's their record?
Well, they have one of the worst records in baseball.
Really?
16-25, 39% winning percentage.
Boy, that's a little scary.
Yeah. I do have a question for Red. Tampa Bay. Are they legit? Obviously, I think the Red Sox.
They've got a lot of talent.
For the record, they won 90 games last. Not like they were a flash.
Kevin Cash is a great manager.
They've got
a lot of talent. They've got Blake Snell. They've got Tommy Pham who they picked up from St. Louis, and they've got a lot of cheap talent on that team.
They picked up
now.
Travis Darnold, who the Mets cut. Played 1 game with the Dodgers, and they traded him to the Rays.
I think that they're for real, but you got to take it with a grain of salt right now as well, because the Yankees have so many injuries. The Red Sox are off to a slow start. I think that they'll still finish 3rd in the division, but I think there's a really good chance that they're a wild card.
I think the Yankees will win that division. I said that before the season. Their pitching has been outstanding. And there's Domingo Germain, who nobody knows, is 7-1. ERA of around 2.7, and WHIP down around 1.05.
They've still got a lot of injuries. If the injuries figure themselves out, then I think that they will win the division. I do think that it is their year
Yeah.
to win the division.
But
at
so
least,
given the
but-
Red Sox.
Red Sox
Sox
seem to have come up with a pretty
Be-
decent young second, Mr. Chavis.
Chavis has been very
he
good.
came up
yeah.
to their system,
Oh,
right?
well, he was highly touted in the minor.
that right?
Oh, he was a top 30 prospect.
Okay, for some reason he doesn't mean much to me, but he looks like he's off to a pretty
Right,
good start.
he's been their top prospect for a couple of years.
Yeah.
now.
I don't know why it wasn't
yeah.
But yeah,
more on top
he's
of
doing
him.
really well. He's
Talk
why
down to
I,
about looks like I don't
think,
see Zach.
Are
but
you
I see the
kidding?
clock.
yeah, I guess so.
Holy mackerel.
I don't see Zach, but I see the clock down to 50 seconds.
There's Zach.
Zach names it.
I'm going to assume that this is the end of the
Assume
show.
that's accurate.
So, okay. Well, not
Welcome back,
not
Mr.
a bad
Hawk.
effort. Duke, good
Nick,
seeing
great
you
to
again.
have you. Hope we see a lot of you
awesome.
this summer.
Yeah, I'll be here for sure.
Yeah, so
Excellent.
for the Duke, the Red Man, Zach in the control room, I the Nighthawk. And remember, everyone, I'm going to try to remember this correctly. A library,
a long time off.
No, a library card is for free, but knowledge is priceless. Till next week, folks. Take care. Bye-bye.
All right, great to have you back.
By the way, I read 6 books.